Welcome to the Backup Level Up podcast. I'm Janet Khoshaba from Rewind, live from Atlassian Teams 26 in Anaheim, California, talking with founders, executives, and professionals about setbacks, incidents, and inflection points that shape how modern teams build, scale, and come back stronger in the age of AI and DevOps. I'm here with Simon from the Adaptavist group. Hi, Simon.
Hi there.
Can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Adaptavist group?
I'm Simon Haighton-Williams. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Adaptavist group. We are one of the largest Atlassian partners, and unusually these days we are both a service provider. We also have a range of apps that are well known, such as ScriptRunner and the Cloudly apps.
That's interesting. Can you give us share a real life example of how the Adaptavist can be seen in the real life?
Yeah, I think if you pick one of our products like ScriptRunner, 25,000 customers around the world are using it to build all sorts of integrations and extensions to the Atlassian world. So anyone of scale is quite likely to be using the ScriptRunner at some level. From our services business, again, we've been around for a long time. We have lots of customers, and you can talk to almost anyone. We're pretty well known.
That's interesting. So I'm just going to dive a little bit deep into your career. So you've operated both deeply technical and at the executive level. What do you enjoy more today?
Well, I enjoy the executive level because you can get a lot of big things done, but I still enjoy the technical side of things. And I think with the release of agentic code development, I'm able to kind of scratch my geeky itch to do technical things and move things through really fast, and I enjoy that as well. I think I think being close to technology, or at least having some level of understanding, helps with the executive level as well.
That's awesome. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit deep into your story, Simon. What originally led you into building within the Atlassian ecosystem?
Well, it was kind of an accident. So the original business that the Adaptavist group was built on was run by three guys who their business plan was never commute. That was their entire business plan, but they were really good at building Atlassian things. And I got involved in helping them shape the business and became easier to buy the business. It was very obvious the strength of the platform even 15 years ago, and the opportunity it gave. And do you know what? I'm still here just because it's been good. It wasn't like kind of a long plan that we made for 15 years.
So interesting. And at what point did you realize this could become something much bigger than a services business?
Well, we always built products right from the very first origin of the company. But we built the very first marketplace app was an app called Theme Builder, which is the theming engine for Confluence, which is probably part of the origin story of the company. Well, it was always obvious that the platform was there. I think we've been through server and DC and now cloud and isolated cloud and all of those things. Each one of them broadens out the platform, and each one of them makes the opportunity bigger.
That's interesting. That's awesome. So let's focus on the turning point here. Was there a specific moment where the Adaptavist group shifted from a strong company into a category leader?
I think the acquisition of ScriptRunner is probably a good thing to point out. So ScriptRunner originally was a piece of software built by a man called Jamie Eklund, who built it to scratch his own itch as an Atlassian user, and he gave it away for free as sort of a quasi-open source tool. But people wanted more support, and they wanted documentation, they wanted more features, and so we hired Jamie, we bought the IP, we commercialized the product, added a sheen of professionalism, and frankly rebuilt it from top to bottom, and have widened the areas where you can use it. That was a huge change to the business, and ScriptRunner is now a large part of our business today. But I also think about the fact that we are an agile company, and we even hired one of the Agile Manifesto authors. And I like to think of the way that we operate as like, lots of small changes rather than one great big dramatic change. That's real life, and that's how business works.
Absolutely, for sure. So how did you decide to expand into multiple brands and products rather than staying focused in just on one lane?
Well, we reached a certain scale, and you think about Dunbar's numbers and all of those kind of things. The biggest issue for me was focus, and so when you have a lot of people trying to do multiple things, they need like a sense of local identity, and they need a different set of goals and priorities. So we have, again, ScriptRunner, which is sort of a large business with 20, 30,000 customers, and it needs an enterprise motion of how that's run. We also have a product like Venue USH, which is a startup IDP business that we have that is a startup, and just the way that you operate those businesses, the way that you develop things, the way It's just different. So creating those different brands for those to operate, it gives them the freedom and obviously the internal permission to operate in those different ways.
Absolutely, for sure. So you've worked at both startups and enterprise levels.
Yeah.
How do you decide when to be hands-on and when to step back?
Well, I would love to say that I was very good and I never micromanaged or dabbled in things, but that's not the truth. I love the things that we do and I love to get involved. It's a balance on a case-by-case basis. I think sometimes I'm supporting people as lower level as they can go, but you also need people the space and the trust and the freedom to do that. And I guess my job is about building the people that do that, so I can let go and walk away and deal with the next business that we're working on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk a little about scaling. What's been the hardest part of scaling the Adaptavist group that people on the outside wouldn't really see?
I think it's messaging and coherence of that messaging. So when you're 1,000 people, I can write a blog post and 1,000 people read it and they come away with a slightly different message. And so you need to be constantly delivering those messages and recognizing even if you say something, after it's been repeated by a bunch of people, it changes. And some of the messages are subtle. You know, the interesting message in the business is subtle. And so that for me is the biggest challenge, is constantly having to reaffirm and drive that message.
And can be interpreted in different ways,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
For sure. So how do you think AI is changing the Atlassian ecosystem, and where are people actually getting it wrong right now?
I think it's changing the whole world and the whole world of IT as much as the Atlassian ecosystem. And I think Atlassian is running along with all of those changes. The thing that I think is most important is it's still a new technology, and there are the rules that there are so brand new that they're not really truly tried and tested rules. I think it's important to take a sense of playfulness, almost a sense of joy at the things that you can create, to build on that creativity and deliver things that you didn't know that you could. I recently took our head of HR and I forced her to use Claude Cowork actually, and she was reluctant to do it. And I sat her down in the office. We got her laptop and we installed it there, and then she was trying to wait till next week, and we installed it. I'm like, you're not going to be, we are going to do this. And she did. Then the next day she came to the office and I did this, and she was so excited at the things that she'd achieved. And I think that playfulness and encouragement is probably what a lot of people get wrong, and trying to drive too much of a central message. Of course, the long term of this is we're all more productive and costs are lower and all those kind of things. But getting people comfortable and playful is the way forward.
Absolutely. There's so much reluctancy, so much that people don't really know about how powerful it is. And once you open up that door,
once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Possibilities endless, right? That's amazing. Simon, what's one decision that had an outsized impact on the company's trajectory?
Again, I'll talk back to, I think the biggest thing that we did was probably buying ScriptRunner, which moved us from an early stage small app vendor to a very large app vendor, and it allowed us to keep the duality of the business. And in fact, actually, to scale that decision more broadly, a lot of our peers, if you think about people like AppFire and those kind of, years ago they used to look like us. They'd have a services business and a product business. The decision not to go down that route and specialize on just one or the other, the decision not to go and sell the business to private equity, they're probably the things that make us special and different in the world. We have a different, in private, we just have a different view on things, and perhaps longer term, or certainly not so constrained by externalities.
Exactly, that's awesome. And just to wrap up here, where can people connect with you and learn more about what you're building, and what are you most excited about building next?
Well, there's the Adaptavist, the Adaptavist.com website, there's the Adaptavist group website, and you can always ping me on LinkedIn. But the important thing is there's like 1,000 people, all of whom are excited to meet and talk to people with lots of different specialities. We are building AI into lots of tooling. One of the things that we brought to market towards the end of last year is ScriptRunner Migration Suite, which in some cases we can take the migration of code that is written with ScriptRunner from a 200-day experience to a 20-day experience.
Oh, wow.
And so we're increasingly building AI into that kind of tooling and think about more ways that we can use that to work on the Atlassian ecosystem rather than just in the Atlassian ecosystem. So that's been exciting.
That's great. Well, Simon, thank you so much. I'm so excited to see what's happening next.
Thank you.
I'm going to be taking a look at what's happening with the Adaptavist group and Adaptavist. And I appreciate everything. I'm sure our listeners and our watchers are gaining a lot from this. And yeah.
Excellent.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.